Welcome to Stoic Philosophy for Life. This is not just a place to listen to books, it's a space to feel them with your soul. Here, we illuminate your mind with timeless lessons. Awaken your inner strength, cultivate self-minded discipline, and guide your journey of personal growth. Every word is carefully chosen to reach what you're truly seeking: peace, clarity, and lasting transformation. If this feels like the place for you, hit subscribe and walk this path with us every single day. Now, put on your headphones, take a deep breath, and begin the journey of renewing your mind and your life.
Focus on you until you win. Have you ever looked around and felt like everyone else was racing ahead while you were standing still? You see people achieving milestones, gaining recognition, living what looks like their best life, and you cannot help but compare yourself. The quiet voice in your head whispers that you are behind, that you are not enough, that maybe you have missed your chance. The Stoics understood this feeling well, though they lived in a world without social media, without the constant noise of other people's highlight reels. They knew that comparison is a thief of peace, and the antidote is to turn your focus entirely inward, to measure yourself not against others, but against the person you were yesterday. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That means your progress, your growth, your success is not defined by the pace of the crowd. It is defined by the quality of your choices and the persistence with which you follow them. When you fix your gaze on your own path, the noise around you fades. You stop being pulled into competitions you never agreed to, and you start walking with purpose, even if no one else sees it. Epictetus told his students, "First say to yourself what you would be, then do what you have to do." It is a simple but demanding prescription. It requires you to know who you want to become, not in vague terms like successful or happy, but in clear, concrete ways. Do you want to be disciplined, courageous, compassionate, skilled in your craft? Once you have that vision, your job is to work on it daily without waiting for validation or permission. Think about a sculptor working on a statue. The block of marble does not become a masterpiece in a single strike. It becomes art through thousands of deliberate, patient blows of the chisel. Your life works the same way. Each day you choose to focus on your own growth instead of on what others are doing. You are striking the marble. Some days the progress is visible, some days it is hidden. But if you keep going, the shape will emerge. If this message moved you, share it with someone who needs it. There is too much life wasted chasing other people's timelines, too much energy spent on battles that were never ours. The only race that matters is the one against your own potential. Focusing on yourself does not mean ignoring the world. It means recognizing that the foundation of anything you give to others must be built inside you first. You cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot lead others if you have not learned to lead yourself. The Stoics understood that the work of self-mastery is not selfish. It is the most generous thing you can do, because the stronger and wiser you become, the more you have to offer. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." Every moment you spend dwelling on someone else's path is a moment taken from your own. Redirect that time. Read the book that sharpens your mind. Practice the skill that strengthens your career. Build the habit that deepens your health. Not because someone else is doing it faster or better, but because it is the next step in your journey. This focus also demands patience. The Stoics did not promise instant results. They spoke of endurance, of staying the course when progress is slow or invisible. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily to do what is necessary, and whatever follows will be right. Trust that the small, consistent actions you take are compounding, even if you cannot yet see their full weight. If you are still here listening, ask yourself, what have you been chasing that belongs to someone else's vision, not yours? What could happen if for the next 30 days you gave your full attention to becoming the person you have always wanted to be and refused to measure yourself against anyone else. The truth is, the moment you stop competing with the world and start competing with yourself, you win. Because your victory will not depend on applause or timing or luck. It will depend on the one thing that has always been in your control, your effort today, in this moment. There is a quiet kind of strength that grows when you stop explaining yourself to everyone. In a world obsessed with proving and posting, it can feel unnatural to simply work in silence. We have been conditioned to believe that progress must be visible to count, that our goals only matter if someone else approves. But the Stoics knew the opposite is true, that the most meaningful growth often happens in private, far from recognition, in the unseen hours when no one is watching. Epictetus advised, "Seek not the good in external things, seek it in yourself." This means you must stop building your confidence on how others perceive you. If your self-worth rises and falls on the opinions of the crowd, you will never be steady. The only audience that matters is your own conscience. Are you living in alignment with your values? Are you putting in the work that you promised yourself you would do? Those answers matter more than any applause or criticism. Think of the seed buried in soil. It does not shout for attention as it pushes roots into the earth. It grows quietly and visibly until one day it breaks through the surface stronger for the time it spent in darkness. Your personal growth is the same. You may not see immediate results, but if you are consistent, that hidden work will eventually reveal itself in ways no one can deny. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his journal, words never meant for the public, reminding himself daily to live with justice, discipline, and humility. He did not need the validation of an audience. His focus was on shaping his own character. You can follow that same example. Let your actions be your proof. Let your results speak louder than your explanations. The temptation to compare will always be there, and with it, the temptation to justify where you are in life. But you do not owe the world an explanation for your pace, your process, or your priorities. The only thing you owe yourself is honesty, to admit where you are falling short and to commit to doing better. This is the discipline that builds unshakable confidence, because it is not borrowed from anyone else. It is earned privately through your own effort. If you are still listening, I want you to think back to the last time you achieved something important. Do you remember how much of that process no one else saw? The late nights, the doubts, the small steps that felt insignificant at the time. Those invisible moments are where the real victory is born. The Stoics would remind you that the work done in silence is the work that shapes you the most. Seneca wrote, "Be your own spectator, seek your own applause." When you live by this, the noise of the world loses its hold. You no longer need to chase validation because you are already grounded in the truth of your own effort, and that more than anything else will carry you to the finish line of your goals, not faster but stronger, and entirely on your own terms. There will be days when the weight of your own progress feels unbearable. You will wake up tired, unmotivated, tempted to let the goals you once cared about fade quietly into the background. The Stoics never denied these days would come. In fact, they expected them. They understood that discipline is not proven when you feel inspired, but when you feel nothing at all and still take the next step. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I am rising to do the work of a human being." In other words, the work is not optional simply because the feeling is missing. Commitment is a choice made daily, regardless of mood. If you only act when you feel like it, you will always be at the mercy of your emotions, and emotions are notoriously unreliable guides. Think of an athlete training for a championship. They do not skip practice because the weather is poor or because their energy is low. They understand that every repetition builds their capacity, even on the hardest days. Life is no different. The moments when you move forward without excitement are the moments that harden your resolve. Those days are not a sign of weakness. They are proof you are becoming stronger. Epictetus taught that we should not wish for an easy life, but for the strength to meet a difficult one. This strength is not found in grand bursts of motivation, but in the steady rhythm of showing up again and again without waiting for the perfect conditions. If you run only on sunny days, you will never be ready for the race that takes place in the rain. There is also a hidden gift in these low-energy days. They strip away the illusion that your journey depends on inspiration. You begin to see that the real fuel is habit. Once the habit is built, it carries you when enthusiasm cannot. The Stoics called this self-mastery the ability to act according to principle rather than impulse. If you are still here listening, ask yourself, how many times have you stopped simply because you did not feel like continuing? What would your life look like if you pushed forward on those days? Instead, you might not see the difference in a week, but over months and years, that consistency compounds into results that others will call talent, luck, or even destiny. But you will know the truth. It was discipline. Seneca said, "It is not that the thing is difficult that we do not dare. It is that we do not dare that it is difficult. Dare to keep going even when your heart is not in it. That is where your strength is forged. And that is the kind of strength that will not only help you reach your goals, but will make you the kind of person who wins in any arena, no matter the circumstances. There is a certain peace that comes when you stop needing everything to happen right now. Impatience is a thief of both progress and confidence because it convinces you that if results are not immediate, they are not worth pursuing. The Stoics saw this as a dangerous illusion. They knew that anything truly valuable, wisdom, skill, strength of character, could only be built over time through steady effort and resilience. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "No great thing is created suddenly." This is a reminder that even nature itself works in seasons. Trees do not bear fruit the day after they are planted. Rivers carve valleys over centuries, not weeks. If the most powerful forces in the world move with patience, why do we demand that our own growth happen overnight? The Stoics would tell you that impatience is not a sign of high standards, but of a restless mind unwilling to trust the process. Epictetus compared life to the work of a craftsman. The apprentice does not become a master in a single lesson. Mastery is earned through repetition, through mistakes, through quiet refinement of the craft. The same is true for your own goals. You cannot rush excellence without sacrificing its foundation. Every shortcut you take now will cost you later. Think about someone training for a marathon. They could try to run the full distance in the first week, but they would likely injure themselves and quit. Instead, they build their endurance, gradually adding miles over time. The same principle applies to mental and emotional endurance. You grow by adding small, consistent challenges that stretch your capacity without breaking it. Patience is not passive. It is active trust. It is doing the work day after day while allowing time to do its part. The Stoics practiced this by keeping their attention on the present task instead of obsessing over the final outcome. Seneca advised, "He suffers more than necessary. Who suffers before it is necessary?" This means that worrying about when you will arrive only adds unnecessary weight to the journey. Focus on taking the next right step and the path will unfold. If you are still listening, I want you to think about where impatience has cost you in the past. Have you abandoned a goal because the progress was too slow? Have you dismissed small wins because they did not match the picture in your head? The truth is, every step forward counts, even the smallest ones. When you honor those small steps, you create the momentum that eventually leads to the breakthrough. Seneca also reminded us that time discovers truth. Rushing may get you a faster answer, but not necessarily the right one. Patience allows clarity to emerge, and clarity is one of the most powerful allies of confidence. When you move with patience, you move with precision, and when you move with precision, you waste less energy and make fewer missteps. So slow down, not because you lack ambition, but because you value the kind of results that last. The world may pressure you to sprint, but the Stoics knew life is a long game. And in the long game, the most patient player often wins. There is a kind of transformation that only happens when you stop running from discomfort and start using it as a teacher. Most people spend their lives avoiding anything that feels hard, uncertain, or uncomfortable. But the Stoics saw these moments as the very forge where character is made. They did not seek pain for its own sake, but they understood that growth is rarely born in comfort. The muscles of the body strengthen only when pushed beyond their current limit, and the same is true of the mind and spirit. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that obstacles were not interruptions to life's plan. They were part of the plan. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. This is more than just a clever phrase. It is a complete reorientation of how to view difficulty. When you stop seeing challenges as walls and start seeing them as gateways, you realize they are not blocking your path, they are shaping it. Epictetus, who had been born a slave and lived with a permanent physical disability, had every reason to see himself as a victim. Yet his philosophy was one of relentless ownership. He believed that while we cannot control every hardship, we can always control how we meet it. He told his students difficulties show what men are. In other words, when things are easy, anyone can appear confident. But when the storm hits, your true nature is revealed to yourself most of all. Consider the example of someone training for a grueling mountain climb. The training is long and painful, waking before dawn, carrying heavy loads uphill, enduring the burn in the lungs and legs. Every part of them wants to stop. But it is precisely in those moments that they learn discipline, resilience, and problem solving. When they finally reach the summit, the view is not the only reward the person they became during the climb is. Seneca saw this clearly. He wrote, "Fire tests gold, adversity tests the brave." You do not prove your strength in theory. You prove it by enduring what others cannot, by remaining calm in chaos, by acting with integrity when it would be easier to compromise. This is why the Stoics did not pray for lighter burdens. They prayed for stronger backs. And here is the truth most people miss. Discomfort is temporary, but the growth it produces can be permanent. The fear you feel before a difficult conversation fades once you speak the truth. The hesitation before trying something new vanishes once you take the first step. But the courage you gain in those moments stays with you, ready for the next challenge. If you are still here with me, think about the last time you avoided something hard. What if you had faced it instead? How might you be stronger today? If you had allowed that moment to teach you, the Stoics would tell you that avoiding discomfort is avoiding the very experiences that would prepare you for the life you say you want. So the next time you feel resistance, remember that it is a sign you are stepping into a place where growth is possible. Do not shrink from it. Step into it with steady breath and steady mind, because the moment you stop fearing discomfort and start using it, you stop being at its mercy, and that is the moment you truly begin to win. There is a quiet danger in scattering your attention too thin. In an age where every moment is filled with notifications, opinions, and endless distractions, it has become normal to chase a dozen different priorities at once and to feel constantly behind on all of them. The Stoics would see this as a waste not only of time, but of the self. They understood that focus is not just a productivity tool, it is a moral choice. What you give your attention to shapes who you become. Marcus Aurelius warned himself, "You become what you give your attention to." If your days are consumed with gossip complaints or the endless scroll of other people's lives, then your mind will mirror that noise. But if you choose to focus on your work, your values, and your growth, then that is what will take root in you. Focus is a form of self-respect, a refusal to let the world decide what is worth your time. Epictetus advised his students to detach yourself from what does not serve you. This is not about being cold or uncaring. It is about conserving your energy for what truly matters. Every yes you give to something unimportant is a no to something essential. The Stoics practiced the discipline of saying no not only to temptations and distractions, but even to opportunities that would pull them away from their core mission. Think about a beam of sunlight. When it is scattered, it warms but does not burn. When it is concentrated, it can ignite a flame. Your attention works the same way. When you spread it across too many trivial concerns, you make little impact. But when you focus it on one purpose, one craft, one goal at a time, you become unstoppable. Seneca put it plainly, to be everywhere is to be nowhere. Many people mistake movement for progress. They stay busy to feel productive, but their energy is fragmented, and they end each day exhausted yet unsatisfied. The Stoics would remind you to choose fewer battles, but fight them with your full strength. If you are still here listening, consider what has been pulling at your attention this week. How much of it is truly aligned with your goals and values? How much of it is simply noise you have grown accustomed to entertaining? If you cut even one or two of those distractions, imagine how much more energy you could give to what truly matters. The discipline of focus is not glamorous. It means turning down invitations, ignoring trends, and being misunderstood by those who do not share your priorities. But over time, the results speak for themselves. The work you finish, the skills you master, the life you build, all are the product of a mind that refused to be scattered. Focus for the Stoics was not about doing more in less time. It was about doing the right things with the time you have. When you live this way, your confidence grows naturally because every action you take is a deliberate step toward the life you have chosen, not one chosen for you by the noise of the world. There is a certain moment in every person's journey when the path feels lonely. You have chosen to focus on your growth, to pull away from distractions, to work quietly without the constant need for approval. And in doing so, you may notice that fewer people are walking beside you. The Stoics would tell you this is not a sign that you are doing something wrong, it is a sign that you are finally doing something right. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "The opinion of 10,000 men is of no value if none of them know anything about the subject." This is not arrogance, it is clarity. You cannot let the number of voices around you dictate the direction of your life, especially when most of those voices are speaking from their own fears and limitations. When you decide to live deliberately, you will inevitably step away from the crowd. Epictetus encouraged his students to expect resistance when they changed their habits. He told them, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." This is one of the hardest truths to swallow. Growth will often make you misunderstood. People who once related to you may no longer understand your priorities. They may even try to pull you back to the version of yourself that made them comfortable. Think of a ship leaving the harbor for open waters. From the shore, it seems to grow smaller and smaller until it disappears. Those who stay behind may assume it is gone forever, but the ship has not vanished. It is simply moving toward a horizon they cannot yet see. Your own journey will feel like this. Some will think you have lost your way, when in fact, you are finally on the right course. Seneca advised associate with those who will make a better man of you. As your path narrows, the company you keep will become even more important. Seek out people who respect your discipline, who challenge your thinking, and who celebrate your progress without envy. A single friend who truly supports your growth is worth more than 100 who only support your comfort. If you are still here listening, look honestly at your circle. Are the people closest to you moving in the same direction you want to go, or are they pulling you back to where you have already been? This is not about cutting people off in bitterness, but about protecting the environment where your confidence and focus can thrive. The truth is, self-mastery is often a solitary road in the beginning, but over time, the right people will find you, those drawn not to the mask you wear, but to the strength you have built. And when that happens, you will not just have company on your path, you will have allies. If you have been walking alone lately, take heart. The Stoics knew that solitude can be a forge, a place where distractions burn away and the core of who you are becomes clear. From that clarity comes a kind of confidence that no crowd can give and no crowd can take away. There is a trap that swallows many people who start on the path of self-mastery, the trap of needing constant proof that it is working. You begin to improve your habits, discipline your mind, and focus on your growth. But then you look around and wonder why your life has not transformed overnight. The Stoics would warn you, do not mistake the absence of instant results for the absence of progress. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do not be overheard complaining, not even to yourself." Complaining about slow progress is like planting a seed and digging it up every week to see if it has sprouted. You disturb the process by not trusting it. Growth works in layers, many of them invisible. The first signs of change often happen deep inside, in the way you think, in the way you choose your words, in the way you respond to difficulty long before the outside world notices. Epictetus compared personal growth to physical training. A single workout will not transform your body, but months and years of consistent effort will reshape it completely. The same applies to your mind and your habits. Every disciplined choice you make is like a single brick. Alone, it does not look like much, but keep stacking those bricks, and eventually you have a fortress no one can knock down. Think of a craftsman carving a piece of wood. The early cuts may seem rough and even damaging, but each one is purposeful. With patience, the shape emerges. The Stoics would tell you that life is shaping you in the same way. Every challenge, every repetition of discipline, every moment you resist the easy path is a cut that brings you closer to the person you are meant to be. Seneca reminded us great things are not accomplished by impulse, but by a series of small things brought together. This is the quiet truth most people never accept. Excellence is built in increments. The results may be invisible for months or even years, but when they come, they arrive with the weight of all the unseen work that made them possible. If you are still here listening, I want you to stop and take inventory of the last 6 months of your life. How many habits have you improved? How many times have you chosen discipline over comfort? How many challenges have you faced without running? Those are victories, even if they have not yet turned into external rewards. The fact that you are still here, still walking, is proof that it is working. The Stoics would tell you to stop rushing to harvest the fruit and focus instead on tending the tree. Water it, protect it, give it light. The fruit will come in its own season, and when it does, it will be worth far more than the fleeting satisfaction of something gained too soon. Your job is not to demand results on your schedule. Your job is to keep showing up, to keep stacking the bricks, to keep tending the tree. In time, the work will reveal itself. And when it does, you will realize the transformation has been happening all along in you and because of you. There comes a point in your journey when you realize that the real victory is not in reaching the destination, but in who you have become along the way. The Stoics understood this deeply. They knew that chasing a single outcome can be dangerous because it ties your sense of worth to something you cannot fully control. You may reach the goal, but if your confidence depends entirely on that moment, it will vanish as soon as circumstances change. True confidence, they taught, is built on the daily disciplines, the virtues, and the mindset that remain with you no matter where you stand. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." This is not a call to abandon ambition, but to anchor it in something more solid than external success. If your goals are the mountain, your character is the ground beneath it. Without strong ground, the mountain will crumble. But when you build your life on principles, integrity, courage, patience, discipline, you carry the mountain with you wherever you go. Epictetus taught that the only true possessions are your thoughts and your actions. Titles can be stripped away, wealth can disappear, even health can fail. But the person you have trained yourself to be, the one who can endure setbacks, adapt to change, and keep moving forward, that person cannot be taken from you. This is why the Stoics saw each day as a training ground, not just for the mind, but for the soul. Think of a soldier preparing for battle. The day of combat is only one moment in a lifetime of training. What makes them ready is not the adrenaline of the fight, but the years of drills, the repetition of movements until they become instinct, the mental toughness to stay calm when fear rises. Your life is no different. The situations that test you are not interruptions to your path. They are confirmations of the work you have been doing all along. Seneca said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." If your pursuit of success is driven by the belief that you must always have more to be enough, you will never find peace. But if you learn to be content with the progress you are making, even as you keep striving, you become untouchable. You can lose a deal, miss an opportunity, face rejection, and still stand tall because your confidence is rooted in the fact that you are living in alignment with your values. If you are still here listening, pause for a moment and ask yourself, have I been chasing a result or have I been building a foundation? If everything I am working toward were delayed by a year, would I still walk with purpose? The Stoics would tell you that if the answer is no, then your focus has shifted too far toward the external. The real prize is becoming the kind of person who can thrive under any circumstances. The paradox is that when you focus on becoming rather than simply achieving, the achievements tend to follow. Your patience allows you to persist when others quit. Your discipline keeps you improving while others are distracted. Your resilience helps you recover faster from setbacks. These qualities make you magnetic to opportunities not because you are chasing them, but because you are prepared when they arrive. So keep walking, keep refining, keep building the person you would be proud to meet 10 years from now. Let your goals inspire you, but let your character define you. When you do that, every step you take is already a win, and every day is proof that you are not just moving toward success, you are becoming it. There is a point where self-mastery stops feeling like a struggle and starts feeling like a way of life. At first, every discipline feels deliberate. Every choice to resist distraction feels like a small battle. Every effort to act with patience or courage feels like an uphill climb. But the Stoics knew that repetition transforms effort into instinct. What begins as a conscious act eventually becomes second nature, and that is when your growth becomes unstoppable. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily to act with justice, temperance, and fortitude, not because he was trying to appear virtuous, but because he had trained his mind to default to those principles. In the same way, your habits, when repeated long enough, become part of your identity. You are no longer someone who tries to be disciplined, you simply are disciplined. You no longer force yourself to focus, you naturally tune out the noise. Epictetus taught that first, we form habits, then they form us. This is the power of consistency. The more often you act in alignment with your values, the more your brain, your instincts, and even your emotions begin to align with them too. It is like a river carving its path through stone. At first the water is met with resistance, but over time it shapes the very landscape. Consider an archer in training. In the beginning, every shot is a careful calculation, adjusting the stance, controlling the breath, steadying the hands. But after years of practice, the motions flow without thought. The body knows what to do. Your own journey of self-mastery is no different. You practice integrity until dishonesty feels foreign. You practice courage until fear no longer stops you. You practice focus until distraction feels unnatural. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we are given a short life, but that we make it short, and we are not ill-supplied, but wasteful of it." The time you spend building these habits is never wasted, because it multiplies the quality of every future moment. Every day you live with self-mastery is a day you are not at the mercy of impulse fear or the shifting opinions of others. If you are still here listening, ask yourself, which of your current disciplines would you like to see become effortless? What would your life look like if patience, focus, and resilience were as natural to you as breathing? That is not an impossible dream. It is the inevitable result of consistent practice. The Stoics understood that confidence is not a mood, it is a byproduct of preparation. When you have trained yourself to meet challenges with clarity and strength, you no longer question whether you can handle what comes next. You simply do. And when that happens, you are no longer chasing victory. You are carrying it with you every day in the way you live. There is a kind of victory that cannot be measured in applause, money, or recognition, the victory of knowing you have lived according to your values, regardless of what the world gave you in return. This is the kind of win the Stoics pursued. They were not chasing trophies that time could rust or fade. They were building inner fortresses, places of strength, peace, and purpose that could not be touched by fortune or fate. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the Roman Empire, constantly reminded himself that he was just a man among men, that his true measure was not the crown on his head, but the way he carried himself in each moment. He wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." In those 8 words lies the heart of Stoic confidence. Stop talking, stop waiting, stop doubting, and live as the person you know you can be starting now. This is the lesson that ties together everything we have explored. You have learned to master your mind, to anchor yourself in your values, to focus your attention, to embrace discomfort, to move with patience, to protect your energy, and to keep building even when results are invisible. Each of these lessons is a stone, and together they form the foundation of a life that no storm can sweep away. But a foundation only matters if you live on it. That means carrying these principles into every conversation, every decision, every quiet moment when no one is watching. Epictetus warned his students not to become philosophers in name only. Do not explain your philosophy, he said. Embody it. It is easy to speak of discipline, but harder to choose the difficult path when the easy one is tempting. It is easy to praise resilience, but harder to keep moving when your plans collapse. It is easy to agree that we should focus on what we can control, but harder to release the things and the people we cannot. The difference between the person who grows and the person who stays the same is not what they know, but what they practice. Seneca understood that life's greatest challenge was not knowing what is right. Most people already know, but doing it consistently. He wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. We waste it in hesitation, in self-doubt, in chasing the approval of those who do not matter, in replaying the past and predicting the future instead of acting in the present." A Stoic does not deny the past or ignore the future, but he refuses to be trapped by either. His attention belongs to the task before him because that is where his power lies. Think about your own life right now. There are likely things you have been postponing, not because you lack the skill, but because you are waiting to feel ready, or because you fear how others will judge you. The Stoics would tell you that readiness is a myth. You will never feel completely prepared. You will never have the perfect conditions. You will never silence every doubt. And that is precisely why you must act now. Each step you take without certainty is a step that builds certainty. Picture a craftsman in a dimly lit workshop. He works late into the night, shaping, sanding, and refining a piece of wood. No one sees the hours he spends, the mistakes. He corrects the patience he shows. When the piece is finally complete, others call it talent or luck, but the craftsman knows the truth. It was discipline applied steadily over time. Your life's work is no different. The world will see the results, but you will know it was built from countless moments where you chose to keep going even when no one was watching. Marcus Aurelius compared life to a play in which you do not choose the role, but you can choose how you perform it. Whether you are given a short part or a long one, whether you stand in the spotlight or the shadows, your task is the same: play it well. That is the only measure that matters in the end. The applause will fade. The stage will be dismantled, but the way you carried yourself will remain in you and in the lives you touched. If you are still here listening, it means something in this journey has resonated with you. Maybe it has reminded you of a strength you forgot you had. Maybe it has challenged you to let go of something you cannot control. Maybe it has called you to a higher standard for yourself. Whatever it is, do not let it stay as inspiration. Turn it into action. Tonight, decide one way you will embody what you have learned. Not tomorrow, not next week, now. Here is the paradox of Stoic living. The more you focus on mastering yourself, the more you find that winning in the external world happens naturally. When you are disciplined, you work harder and smarter. When you are patient, you avoid costly mistakes. When you are resilient, you recover faster from setbacks. When you are present, you seize opportunities others overlook. This is why the Stoics could seem almost indifferent to winning. They knew it would take care of itself if they took care of themselves. But here is the part most people overlook. Winning in the Stoic sense is not a single moment. It is a way of moving through life. You win when you respond with calm instead of anger. You win when you choose integrity over convenience. You win when you do the right thing, even when it costs you. You win when you keep your peace in a storm. These are victories no one can take from you because they exist entirely within your control. Seneca once said, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." Do not wish away the difficulties in your path. They are the polishing stones of your character. Every challenge you face and overcome leaves you sharper, clearer, and stronger. And when the world sees you shining, they will call it confidence. But you will know it is something deeper. It is the result of a life lived deliberately. So focus on you until you win, not until you impress them, not until they approve, not until they notice, until you win by your own measure in your own eyes, according to your own values. When you reach that point, no one can give you your victory, and no one can take it away. If this message has moved you, share it with someone who is ready to stop chasing and start building. And remember, the work is not to change the world before you have changed yourself. The work is to build a self so steady, so disciplined, and so clear in purpose that the world cannot help but be changed by your presence in it. That is how the Stoics lived. That is how you will win.
If this message stirred something in you, don't let it fade. Write one thing down that you'll start doing this week. 2025 doesn't magically change anything you do. And your future begins the moment you decide to move, even just a little.